introduce you to somebody very special here at Ink and Paint. This is Antonio Palaio.
Hi, pleasure, Ryan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Antonio is an inker and a painter and the head of special effects here at Ink and Paint and feature animation.
Very cool. What are you working on today?
Working on a Mickey Mouse cell. I'll take you guys through the process.
Great.
So I'm wearing these gloves because we don't want to ruin the cell. We use the gloves to help us glide our hand on the cell, and we don't want any fingerprints as well. So what we do here is we do 2 editions a year, which are sold only to employees. And what we use is a cleaned up version of the animator's pencil drawing. And our job is to transfer those lines onto the cell. So we have a cell there. These are the tools that I use. And then what I do is I pick out a section to start off with. I use this stick to help me hold down the cell because it tends to bubble up. And I also use that stick to help me get the ink flowing from the nib. So what I do is I push the ink to the tip. Once I do that, then I start inking.
Beautiful.
Gosh, boy, that takes a delicate hand.
I hate to take you away from your work, but would you mind showing us around? This is such a historic building. I'd love to see the place.
Not at all.
Great.
So here we have the painting process. Basically what happens is once we do all the line work on top of the cell, we flip the cell, it goes to the painter, in this case Sherry Vandoli, and we paint the cell on the back.
What's it like to work in this space? I know this is where you come to work every day, but for me, when I step in here, it's amazing. Do you still get a sense of that history and the legacy you're carrying on in this building?
Absolutely. I mean, they painted some feature films here since 1940. So it's kind of special. Yeah, I feel privileged and honored.
Yeah, everything from Pinocchio and Fantasia to Little Mermaid done in here.
Walt Disney walked these halls.
He hung out in here quite often,
Oh yeah.
actually.
Oh yeah.
It's a privilege to be here. Now these aren't exactly off-the-shelf paints. You guys are actually developing the paints here, correct?
Absolutely.
Can we learn more about where the paints come from?
Yes, let me introduce you to Jim Lusby.
Great.
This is Jim Lusby.
Ryan.
He will explain the paint process, and I'm going to go set up special effects.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Well, welcome to the paint lab. Back in the day, we used a gum-based resin paint. It took the artists a long time to do the features, maybe 4 and 5 years. The paint dried so slowly. Each cell took about 8 hours to dry. In 1986, what Oliver and Company thought was, let's make a fast-drying acrylic paint because we have a lot more stories to tell. We want to get the features released so much quicker. So that's what we've done ever since. I have all my base formulas up here. We have anything in our paint lab here from Ariel, from Little Mermaid. We have Roy, after Roy Disney. But we can make any color in this lab. There's 4,000 colors right now. And I have my master chip for every color that I have in cases over there. And I do all the matching by eye.
You must have an amazing eye.
Well, I call in another group cast member to come in and help us out on that when there's a color that I think is not exactly correct. But when we get a couple of different eyes in here, since everybody sees color a little differently, then we agree that that's close enough. And we write CE on the cell, it's close enough.
So it is as much art as science.
Exactly.
Jim, thank you, sir. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for coming
We're going to
in.
go catch up with Antonio.
Thank you, Jim. Well, looky here.
Antonio, we are back.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to show you guys how we do Tinkerbell's wings. And in this case, the wings go on the back of the cell. We're using these mask frisket. We put it on top. We have the paint inside this little cup here, and we start spraying. And this process was used back in production days as well.
So this was actually done in Peter Pan and all the TV shows
Absolutely.
and everything with Tinkerbell in it?
Yes. That's why it used to take 5-6 years to produce a film.
You could imagine.
Oh my gosh.
At how many frames per second?
24.
24.
A lot.
And just for the special effects, we end up with a bunch of these masks because of all the pieces. But as you can see,
Look at that.
just a little sample.
Great, look at that.
Well, thank you so much for letting us into your space. This has been
You're welcome.
such a pleasure.
Thank
Great
you.
to meet you.
Thank you for coming.